Hey, y'all. How you doing?
It's my phone. What?
Everybody good?
Good.
How are you
good.
doing, Elliot?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Outside of waking up this morning and hearing that cluster that was the congressional hearing. Anybody else had a chance to dip into that? Yeah, Peter.
Yeah, I've
you
seen
must
bits
have.
and pieces of it.
Yeah. Your
I
reaction.
heard a little as well.
Your reaction, Merrill.
Well, you want to start with the RFK hearing?
Start with Annie. Yeah, let's do the RFK hearing because that was the most. That was the craziest.
With his history, you would think that someone would want to put a little bit of extra pressure on him because every other word out of his mouth is a lie or a misinterpretation or a conspiracy theory. It's just really insane.
It's crazy what he there was one point at which he said I think it was with Elizabeth Warren, and she had mentioned, you've effectively taken away vaccines or the ability for anybody in this country to get vaccines. I didn't do that, but only in states. Yeah. So what is it? Is it only in states or you didn't do it? He keeps parsing his language in a way that is very frustrating. And if you notice, because there's a lot of people who will look at this and say, well, just call him a liar. In Congress, there's this formal way of addressing everybody. Like everybody's supposed to be a gentleman and a gentle lady, and we're supposed to conduct ourselves with a certain amount of deference to our people. Fuck that. Come on, you're a liar. Call him a liar.
Yeah, this habit of or this courtesy of not using ad hominem attacks even when they're appropriate, it just has to go.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Democrats on the committee, and actually one of the Republicans, I can't remember which state he was from, called him out on a lot of stuff that he's been saying with respect to vaccines, with respect to Medicaid cuts, which he denied were even occurring.
Again.
But the most important thing from my perspective is that he's leaving the country completely unprepared for any type of health crisis or health emergency that comes up, whether it's for an individual or the society at large. There's just no safety net in healthcare anymore.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a major problem the next time. And you combine that with Trump's efforts to cut back on research at universities as a means of punishing universities for like not letting his kid in or whatever it is. I don't know what the reason is that he's trying to punish Ivy League universities and research centers. Mm-hmm. But we're going to be completely unprepared for the next tragic health crisis.
Yeah, without a doubt. Peter,
so there's one big question about that. There's one big question about that. Why? Why would they be doing this? Like, what is the upside to this for them?
More control of the population.
More control of the population.
You can have less population.
Less population.
Yeah.
Like if people die, right? There's less population to control. I mean, is that seriously what you think? What we all think? I mean, I tend to believe
I don't want to
that,
get too conspiratorial.
Please do.
I know. I don't either.
Think tanks.
Please do.
But most of the major think tanks of the world, they've all suggested decreasing the world's population, is what I'm saying.
Now, who's that? Who all?
That's crazy, guys, because at the same time, they're really saying that we don't have enough people, we don't have enough babies, we need to encourage more white people to have more babies. That doesn't make any real sense. Oh, by the way, speaking of lying, RFK called Menares a liar on the stand today.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
That's why I say the liar sitting right in front of you. Is it beyond belief that we can actually refer to him as that, but decorum, I suppose, dictates other in the context.
Now, some
Well,
people
they
for
call
it
RFK, though,
American-
too, that
Go on, Jamal.
some people are championing the fact that, he's taking out, quote unquote, in their view, the false additives in the foods and the colorings and all this type of thing.
Sure.
So I think there's still a level of cover for people who are less informed to kind of misjudge the level of harm that's being done, right? And to your point, Merrill, that we will be less prepared for another pandemic or what have you. Now, for all, once again, the conspiratorial theorists, if this last pandemic was created by an adversarial country like China, and now we are weakening whatever defenses we had on health, aren't we making it right? When I say we, look, isn't the United States of America making it more ripe for if there was a bad actor out there in the world who can give us a super flu or a super cold or whatever it is, isn't this making it easier for that to happen?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Andrew?
And from an intelligence standpoint as well. We're not sending the resources out in that regard.
Yeah.
I think one of the big
there should be some
goals-
national policy with respect to healthcare, and we're now letting the entire healthcare system, the responsibility for healthcare, to devolve upon the states. Some are stepping forward, like California, Washington State, and Oregon, to try to collaborate on vaccines and things like that. But RFK was talking about how the death rate in the United States was so much higher during COVID than other countries. I think he said 4 times higher or whatever it was. It was completely, the number of deaths in the United States would completely outpace population compared to other countries. But we didn't really have a cohesive national policy in terms of how to handle this stuff. Every state basically could do what they wanted. You compare it to countries like Denmark, for example, where the death rate was less than a third of what it was in the United States. There was a cohesive national policy that everybody pretty much stuck to. So despite the fact that COVID hit pretty early there, and we were as equally unprepared initially as every other Western country, the death rate was much lower because there was a cohesive policy, and now it's being totally eviscerated at the federal level.
Andrew, you were going to weigh in there.
I was going to say, I recently heard, and I'm not sure if news reports in Texas were saying this, but I heard that they were basically blaming the increase of deaths, because there have been deaths. Children have died of measles in Texas.
Yeah. We had a big outbreak.
And they were blaming it, though, on the unvaccinated immigrants.
Yeah.
Like,
of course.
Like,
That's what they do. That's what they do.
So it's really more about misinformation, people being confused. They want confusion. They want uncertainty. They want, it's going to come down to real effects.
Yeah. I'll tell you something.
Real effects.
Something that I saw that was going on there in those hearings today, which I thought was very interesting. Bernie Sanders tore him a new one. And in the process, and tell me if you saw this too, in the process kept asking RFK how he felt about Operation Warp Speed, and basically saying, hey, Warp Speed was a big success. So that was good. So what is it? Do you disagree with the president's position, or do you agree with it? In other words, trying to force him into a situation where he would talk bad, disagree with the president, and possibly get fired. See that? Check this out.
Next question. President Trump, who I don't usually agree with, called COVID vaccines, quote, one of the greatest miracles in the history of modern day medicine that saved tens of millions of lives worldwide. Scientific community agrees with Trump. Lancet study found that it prevented almost 20 million deaths during their first year of use. Secretary Kennedy, are President Trump and the medical community right, or do you still believe that the COVID vaccine was, quote, the deadliest vaccine ever made?
No, first of all, I didn't say that. Oh, I said that in terms of affairs reports a while ago. I said today, I think that President Trump should get the Nobel Prize.
So who's right? Is Trump in the medical community right, or are you right?
President Trump did an extraordinary piece of leadership.
Is he right or wrong? Did COVID save millions of lives?
As I said, he got Americans back to work. At that time, that particular vaccine was perfectly matched to the virus that was circulating then. And I have no idea how many lives it saved, but it saved quite a few.
You know, what I find a little bit weird in this discussion, I'm hearing it over and over again this morning, Mr. Chairman, is we've got the entire medical community on one side. You got the AMA representing hundreds of thousands of doctors, the American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Public Health Association. All of these organizations are telling us that COVID vaccine and vaccines in general are safe and effective. You are casting doubt on that. Who are the organizations that are agreeing with you in casting aspersions on vaccines?
The primary advisors are Marty McCary, Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Oz, Vinay Prasad.
So you got a few doctors who agree with you, and I'm giving you the
Not a few doctors. What you're talking about is there's a big difference, Senator, between established science and the scientific establishment, which has been co-opted by the pharmaceutical industry.
So you're telling the American people that the American Medical Association, representing hundreds of thousands of people, have been co-opted and that they should not trust their doctors.
And
the American Academy of Pediatrics, and by the way, just for the record, every single Republican, I don't mean to be political here, Mr. Chairman, has received PAC money from the pharmaceutical industry. Are they all corrupt as well?
And I'm telling you, the American Heart Association has been co-opted by the food
Everybody
industry.
but you, Senator. But you know what? When you ran for president, you know, we have a corrupt campaign finance system. Maybe you will agree with me on that. Okay, you were already president, you got a billionaire behind it. You received $300,000 from people, not from the industry, people in it, as I did, from individuals. You corrupt. President Trump got $3 million. Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now...
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The issue is every time anyone disagrees with you...
Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign?
I'm saying,
I don't think so.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive. But to suggest that every institution, the AMA, the pediatrics people, is corrupt because they disagree with you is an insult to the American people.
Listen, people disagree with me all the time. I have arguments in my agency, heated arguments every day with Jay Bhattacharya, with Marty McCary, with Dr. Oz.
You have given the names of a few people. I have given you the names of organizations representing hundreds of thousands of doctors and scientists. I yield, Mr. President.
Well, there was other discussion about warp speed, too, and RFK basically said, well, Trump should get the Nobel Prize for, of getting warp speed out there. But at the same time, everything that was effective about warp speed had to do with the things that RFK now opposes, like vaccine program, accessibility for seniors to vaccines without having to go to a doctor. I mean, they're doing everything in their power to make it difficult for people to get the health care they want. People don't want to have to go to get a doctor's appointment and wait in line for that just to get a vaccine that they should be able to go to Costco and get.
Yeah.
But we should reiterate what RFK said. He basically said he was saying more people had died from the COVID vaccine than from COVID. And that's what they were basically citing. Yeah. They were saying, how can you say that and then also agree that he needs the Nobel Prize for warp speed?
Well, he also said he didn't know how many people in the United States died from COVID.
Exactly.
He was asked that explicitly, and he said he didn't know. I mean, 8 months in office, and he has access to all the records of government, and he doesn't know the answer to that question. Of course he knows the answer to that question. We all know the answer to that question. There were, like 550,000 excess deaths during that period. And that's probably a pretty good guesstimate of the number of people who actually died. It might be more than that. It might be twice that. But we have some base number that it's not less than.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, listen. With the time remaining, let's go back earlier in the week we saw the press conference from many of the Jeffrey Epstein victims. And apparently they had met with Congress earlier as well to discuss essentially, and I'm trying to get this right here, they were talking about a discharge petition that would allow the House to release the files. They released part of the files earlier in the week, but they were still waiting for 2 members. So the author or co-author of the bill, Thomas Massey, came out yesterday and essentially talked to the people before they talked to the victims. Let's take a look at that right now.
I'm calling on my colleagues. Be one of the next 2 who sponsors this discharge petition. I think it's shameful that this has been called a hoax. Hopefully today, we can clear that up. This is not a hoax. This is real. There are real survivors. There are real victims to this criminal enterprise. And the perpetrators are being protected because they're rich and powerful and political donors to the establishment here in Washington, D.C. So today we're standing with these survivors. We're giving them a voice. And I want to close by thanking them. They are brave. I hope they encourage other survivors to come forward and to tell their stories, not just of Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, but anywhere in the country. This is a message that we are sending. This is a litmus test.
Here's my question. We've got 3 factions working on these Epstein files now. You've got Democrats, and for the most part, people who would like to see Trump out of office, who would like to see these files because they believe that Trump is up in there somewhere. Then you've got the MAGA crowd who wants the same files. They want the same result because they think Bill Clinton, Hillary, and Barack Obama are up in those same files. Then you have the victims who see all this and see their opportunity, and they should have that opportunity, certainly, to get some closure and get some satisfaction from the courts for what happened to them. In those 3 people, in those 3 scenarios, who do you think wins on this one and why? Peter?
That's interesting.
But you see that, right?
We
see
would hope
people all going after the same thing.
Yeah. We would hope ultimately the victims are the ones that win, but I think we probably know better than that. Unfortunately, Trump is probably going to become the winner in all of this because he that's just how he rolls. He was threatening members of Congress today to not vote to get more of this information out.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything in these Epstein files? I mean, he seems to want to keep them undercover, but it seems to me that at this point, if there was anything incriminating or certainly damaging to him, we would have found it out by now. I mean, especially now that all the victims are out and they're talking to the press. There was an interview on MSNBC.
For him to protect it, it doesn't mean that he, like, you know, we might not get like new photos of him in the act or anything like that.
Right.
So I think that's kind of an unrealistic expectation. I think that him wanting to
I
protect
agree.
that could also just be for anybody who he's a friend with, or he could have just been there for a luncheon and he understands that even that appearance. So I don't know that he necessarily did or did not do anything, but certainly that was his buddy, and he had an association and an affinity for anybody, as we've seen time and time again, for anybody who had money and power and a proximity to, some level of fame and access to all of these things that are being alleged, young women, and he certainly loved all of that. We cannot prove that anything happened thus far with any of those things, but certainly he's a fan of all of those things.
Merle, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking that there's a money trail there.
Yeah, I think there's some money connections, but I think we're not going to find out anything definitive about Trump having any kind of sexual activity with these girls and young women. I think what we're going to find out is that he had to have known about it because of his relationship with Epstein being such a tight one. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were best buds for years. And I don't think there's any way around that if the whole file, if all the files get released. I think you might also find out that when Epstein was prosecuted in Florida, you may find out that Trump wrote letters of recommendation for him, because it's typical when you're going through a plea discussion with prosecutors that you get family members and friends to write letters of support that might have gone either to the prosecutor to try to influence the plea agreement or a judge to influence them in the sentencing, or to go forward with the sentencing in a case like this where the final charges and the sentence were so horrendously lenient. So Trump might have written recommendations for him that were submitted to the government.
Yeah. As I mentioned, one of those three. Go ahead.
I think there is a money trail that involves Trump. And I also think that we have only seen, supposedly, we have only seen 14% of the files.
That's right.
14% is all that has been released.
Yeah, they released
That's not very much.
A very small portion.
There is a lot more.
Yeah.
And
I think that's why
absolutely no reason not to release all of them, except for the grand jury minutes, which under federal rules of criminal procedure can't be released.
Well, now we have a subpoena.
Well, the victims are saying they have their own client list. I think the public is going to be more interested in the victim's client list than anything else.
You know what? And with that said, let's take a listen to one of the victims right now. I don't have her name available for me, but while we're listening to this, I'll try and pull it up. Let's listen to that right now. That's cut number 2.
A friend of mine in the neighborhood told me that I could make $300 to give an older guy a massage. It went from a dream job to the worst nightmare. Jeffrey assistant Leslie Groff would call me and tell me that I needed to be at the house so often that I ended up dropping out of high school before 9th grade. And I never went back. From 14 to 17 years old, I went and worked for Jeffrey instead of receiving an education. Every day I hoped that he would offer me a real job as one of his assistants or something important. I would finally have made it big, as, like we say, the American dream. That day never came. I had no way out. I was, until he finally told me that I was too old. There are many pieces of my story that I can't remember, no matter how hard I try. The constant state of wonder causes me so much fear and so much confusion. My therapist says that my brain is just trying to protect itself. But it's so hard to begin to heal knowing that there are people out there who know more about my abuse than I do. The worst part is that the government is still in possession right now of the documents and information about that could help me remember and get over all of this, maybe.
Wow, I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, and there were many more. There's about a half dozen, which we don't obviously have time here. But
I have to say, the Republican Massey.
Watch that and not be affected.
Yeah.
Well, that the Republican Massey, who's been really vocal and very supportive of the files being exposed. You know, it is so hard for me as a Republican to trust any other Republicans, like MTG coming out. I mean, I guess I have to compartmentalize and separate who those people really are and how they have voted in the past and what they have done in the past.
Right.
And now they're on the right side of this argument?
Yeah, but so few, Andrea. There's 15 or 20 of them. There's 200 others that are not interested in seeing this go forward.
Right. It's disgusting. It's absolutely.
And they're trying to slow walk it too. There was the vote in Congress yesterday to keep the investigation basically within the Oversight Committee. All the Democrats and a couple of Republicans voted against it, and it passed like 218 to 212 or something like that, with a number of people not voting to keep the thing in the Oversight Committee, which is just going to slow walk it. So this discharge petition, which is going to basically force a vote on the floor of the House, a vote that Mike Johnson could bring if he wanted to, but they'll force a vote on the House to demand the documents from the Justice Department. And that's really important, because otherwise it's just going to take months and months and months, and we'll never get to the end of it.
Absolutely.
He is so trying to walk the line. He is walking the line.
Oh yeah.
And
he's just a piece of shit.
And not doing a real
He
good
is
job of it.
such a piece of shit.
You see him, you just.
We should all talk like Mike Johnson. Move your lips really slow like this.
And twist yourself into a pretzel trying to do it, because that's all he's been doing all week.
Oh my God, I can't stand that motherfucker.
Yeah, I like that. Good place to end it. We've run out of time, folks. Thank you. Thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Jamal, Andrea. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. See you next week.
Thanks, Elliot.
And thank you for joining us. We are here every Thursday, so be sure and subscribe so you won't miss an episode. Till then, take care. Peace.